So, how are you going to fund Civic Punks? It's a question I get asked a lot, mainly by myself as I watch my dwindling bank account. Because it turns out that traveling around the world, talking to interesting people about how to make government better, isn't technically a business model, at least not yet. So, I want to make this video to walk through how I'm thinking about Civic Punks sustainably. At the core of it, it's relationships. Authentic, meaningful relationships. That's what makes Civic Punks Civic Punks. Relationships create access to people, to ideas, projects, conversations, places that most people don't get to go. Access then creates insights. Insights become content. Field notes, briefings, conversations. That content builds trust and credibility and momentum, which then of course creates new opportunities. And hopefully these opportunities lead to revenue and deeper relationships. So, from relationships to access to insights to content to trust to opportunities to revenue and deeper relationships. That is the heartbeat, the flywheel of Civic Punks. Let me show you what I mean. Because the relationships I've built over close to 2 decades in this space, I get to speak with interesting people, visit cool projects, attend unusual events, and see parts of the future government world that is often hidden from view. And because I'm actually willing to show up, to travel, to be in the room, to have the hallway conversations, sit in a pub afterwards, help move bookshelves. Roger, I'm looking at you. I get to ask deeper questions. Not just what's on the agenda, but what is really going on here, underneath the surface. What are people excited about? What are they worried about? What are they saying privately that hasn't quite yet made it to the mainstream? Who is doing interesting work but hasn't yet been discovered by a wider audience? The kind of access that's hard to replicate from behind a desk or with AI. I mean, AI can summarize the panel, but it can't regurgitate for you that wild after panel conversation you had at the pub, where you really dug into the complexities of what was being talked about on stage. So the job of Civic Punks is to take that access and turn it into something useful, shareable, human, and fun. Not one of those reports that sits in that must-read folder. I know, I've got a very big must-read folder in my computer right now. And it's not also the sanitized version that turns into a press release or official conference recap. It's the stories, the interviews, the field notes, those videos that help people see what's actually happening in the field. So with that in mind, how do we fund it? Right now I'm thinking about 4 key pathways. So first is events, and this is one that's already starting to work. I want to give a real shout out to the Public Sector Network and the United Nations Department of Economic Affairs, or UNDESA, which is a bit less of a mouthful. We're really experimenting with me early on this. The idea is to tell the story of the event from a human level. So first, pre-game show, like in sports. The idea is to frame the event around a context. What is the context this event is happening in? What are the key storylines going into the event that we should be excited about and we should be paying attention to? Then, during the event, on-the-ground interviews, hallway conversations, short dispatches from the conference floor, from your intrepid reporter on the ground. And finally, afterwards, a post-game show that really highlights what actually mattered from what happened. The point is to find a signal in all the noise. What are people really wrestling with? What's being said in the hallways that never quite made it to the main stage? And what's going on that's going to matter in a month and a year from now? Most events produce content, and like really good content. But it ultimately feels more like branding than storytelling. It misses the soul of things. And in an age of AI, we need more soul. So event storytelling is about helping the energy, the insights, the relationships in the room travel beyond the room. Especially now when in times of austerity, people are losing the budget or the time to be at events in person. But there's also a design piece here that I'm quite interested in exploring more. Because Civic Punks is out in the field, talking to people across this space. I start to get a sense of what people are actually thinking about. The attentions that are emerging, the topics that are both stale or new and emergent. What are the conversations the field actually needs right now? And who should be in the room? How do we get people doing more than sitting in quietly in rows checking their phone? Speakers and panels have a place. I love to moderate. I think I'm pretty good at it. But there are so many other ways to build connection and learning. Serious games, scenarios, open space, dynamic workshops, and field visits are just a couple that come to mind. So that's path 1. Helping events feel more human, more useful, and just more alive, more fun. The second path is briefing and sense making. So a lot of what I'm doing already is pattern recognition. I'm talking to people across government, civic tech, public sector innovation, digital transformation, service design, policy shops, institutional reform, and a bunch of other fields that all have slightly different languages for saying, how do we make government work better? Over time, patterns start to show up. You hear the same tensions in different contexts. You notice which ideas are traveling and which ones are not. You see where people are excited, where they are stuck, where public conversations do not quite match private ones. This is really valuable information because a lot of teams are trying to understand these shifts to help them with their work. But no one has time to be everywhere. So the idea is pretty simple. An organization says, here's a question, here are some questions we're wrestling with. Maybe it's AI adoption government, maybe it's public trust, digital public infrastructure. Oh, digital sovereignty, hot topic right now. Or maybe like, how do you actually create change within an institution like government? Then I go into the field with these questions in mind. I attend events, I interview people, I collect signals, and I come back with a brief. Here's what I'm hearing. Here are tensions that keep coming up again and again. Here are projects you should probably know about, and the people behind them, and the questions that are probably worth asking right now. Where it makes sense, I can make introductions, because sometimes the most valuable thing isn't actually another insight, it's knowing the right person to talk to next. So, that to me is a big part of what makes Civic Punks Civic Punk. It's about helping people in this fragmented field see each other, learn from each other, and maybe move a little faster because they're not all reinventing the same wheel in different time zone. The third path is freelance journalism and editorial partnership. There's a lot of really good publications and newsletters and communities that already serve public servants and civic reformers, but they're often geographically rooted. They might have a strong audience in, say, the UK or Australia or Canada or East Asia, but they do not always have someone moving across countries, events, and communities, picking up signals from the wider field. This is where Civic Punks can be useful. They act as a kind of international roving reporter for the future of government space, traveling around, events and projects, talking to people, and then feeding those stories and insights back into communities that want to understand what's happening elsewhere. It's good to get out of our bubble sometimes. So what is being tried in Europe? What is happening in Africa? What are people in South America wrestling with? And what ideas are traveling across borders? And because Civic Punks works with videos and podcasts in more casual formats, it can also help experiment with more human, engaging media. So this path is about working with publications, newsletters, networks, and platforms that want global civic insights, but do not have someone physically moving through these spaces. And again, the value is not just content. It's access, synthesis, and connection. I can help point people towards stories that could use a deeper dive and help connect them with people on the ground. The fourth path is support and sponsorship. At the individual level, I'm setting up ways for people to support Civic Punks directly. This could be one-off contributions. So, help fund a coffee meeting, help make a video happen, help cover the cost of a train ride. Or it could be ongoing support through Patreon membership. That's right, I now have a Patreon account. Become a punk who's helping grow the movement. Get some behind-the-scene access. Help shape what this becomes. And maybe meet a few fellow punks along the way. Because ultimately, Civic Punks is about weaving together a movement of people trying to fix government. Then, on the organizational side, there are two ways I'm thinking about this. The first is sponsoring a leg of the trip. So Civic Punks is moving in what I'm calling legs. So we just finished Asia Pacific. Next is Europe, which I'll be leaving for in the next week or so. And then after Europe, it's going to be Africa in September and South America in November. Each leg will have its own questions, stories, people, projects, and patterns. So one way organizations can support Civic Punks is by helping sponsor a leg. That helps make travel, interviews, production, and field reporting possible. But it also gives the sponsor something useful back through personalized insights and connections from that leg. I can work with sponsoring organizations ahead of time to understand, what are your questions? What are the things that you're really curious about? What do you want to learn from this region of the world? What kind of people and projects or ideas could be useful for you to understand? Then I carry those questions with me as I go into the field. And when I come back, I share what I saw. Here are the patterns. Here are the people and projects worth paying attention to. Here's something that might matter for your work. So leg sponsorship is a way to support the public storytelling while also getting a more focused window into relevant insights for your organization. The second piece is something I'm still figuring out. I'm thinking of calling it the founding circle. The basic idea is to pull together a small group of like-minded organizations that believe in the mission of Civic Punks and want to help it succeed. They're helping build independent civic storytelling in new mediums, shared sense-making, and deeper relationships across the future of government ecosystem. Part of the value is getting closer to what Civic Punks is seeing. Private briefings from the field, early visibility into emerging people, ideas, places, and tensions. And of course, projects. A chance to help shape and support the direction of this work. But the other value is just access to each other, because there's a lot of really interesting organizations trying to make government better, but they're not always connected in ways they could be. Civic Punks can help convene some of these people together. A small circle of people and organizations who want to understand, support, and strengthen this field together. That's the thing I'm trying to build. So yes, this is a way organizations can support Civic Punks, but it's also a way for them to be part of a wider ecosystem of people trying to make government better. Movement building. So that's the motto, at least for now. Build authentic relationships. Have those relationships lead to access. That access leading to insights. That insights then being packaged into really engaging and fun content. That content then builds trust and opportunities. And those opportunities hopefully make this whole thing sustainable. And the four pathways are pretty straightforward. Events, briefing and sense-making, freelance journalism, and support through individual and organizational sponsorship. People who believe this should exist. But underneath all of this, there's a bigger point. Civic Punks is not just about me backpacking around with an iPhone and laptop. Although yes, there's a lot of that. It's really about connecting people and ideas around the future of government. It's about making this field feel more human, more visible, more fun, more alive. And in that, there are ways of engaging the next generation that we need to pull into this work. Because this is generational work. Because there are so many amazing people and organizations doing really interesting work all over the world to make government better, inside and outside the system, as community organizers, digital teams, policy shops, service centers, and all sorts of little weird experiments that are just popping up everywhere. But a lot of these people feel disconnected from each other. They're pushing on similar problems, but in different places, often without knowing who else is pushing with them. And that can feel really lonely. Like you're the only one trying to push this giant boulder up a hill. But you're not. There are civic punks everywhere. The challenge is helping them find each other. That's what I think the storytelling can do. Good storytelling doesn't just explain what's happening. It creates recognition. It helps people feel heard and seen, like they're not alone. That you're part of something bigger, better, important. That's the real mission here. To help weave together the people, the ideas, the stories, and the relationships shaping the future of government. And to do it in a way that doesn't feel like work. So this is me trying to build a business model around the mission. The events, the briefing, the journalism, the sponsorship, the membership, all of it is just really about the same thing. How do we make this work sustainable enough to keep finding signals, to keep telling stories, and to connect the people that are making it all happen? And of course, I don't want to build this alone. So this is an invitation to all of you. If you are organizing an event and want it to feel more human, more alive, let's talk. If you're an organization trying to make sense of what's happening across the future of government, let's talk. If you run a publication or a platform and want stories from the field, let's talk. If you want to sponsor a leg of the journey, join the Founding Circle, support through Patreon, or just help fund one more video, also all excellent. But more than anything else, if you believe government can be better, and you want to help build the community of people trying to make it better, then come and help shape this. Send ideas. Send people I should meet. Send projects I should visit. Tell me what you are seeing. Tell me what I'm missing. Because Civic Punks was never meant to be a finished thing. It's meant to be built in open with people who care about this work. So if any of this sounds like you, welcome. Welcome to Civic Punks.